Jesus freak here, and probably notice my tendency to emphasize the concept of pairing up to evangelize, and that makes it hard for me because there's really no one I can pair up with, as anyone around me who's a fellow believer is really not the type of person that's going to be willing to go out and do this kind of thing for one reason or for another. Now, the model here on which I suggest this pairing up is, for example, Luke 10:1, where he pairs up his 70 or 72 disciples and sends them out. The justification from my perspective for pairing up is, for one, safety. For another, if one of you turns out to be heterodox, the other can correct them. Because I'm sure there's a lot more of us who are just a little heterodox in one way or another, and that kind of thing should not be passed on. But this is where I feel, and I've seen some Baptist churches get together and start doing this, but it's really rare. I usually only see like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses doing this, and it's a shame. Where's the real Christians, you know? And I'm like, I think as far as these two groups on the lunatic fringe, as far as spreading their message goes, they're both on the right track. I just, wish they could be derailed from their aberrant beliefs, from their heterodoxy, and brought back to the truth. Now, you get a slight advantage when it comes to Mormons. See, they tried to come up with their own Bible to replace the King James, and that went over like a lead balloon. So they've actually wound up making the King James their official translation, which can be to your benefit. I actually have a Mormon Cambridge turquoise, along with a couple non-Mormon turquoises. And I can use this as, say, for an example. It's going to be a lot harder with the Jehovah's Witnesses because although they do accept the King James as being scripture, you're going to run into cases where their heterodox beliefs are informed by their New World Translation, which is not a translation. It's an absolute butchery. But they're told that this is the one true version of the Bible and that all others are corrupt. So you're going to have to basically use their own scriptures against them. And that's going to be a lot harder than if you can use King James and wield that. Technically, this is also the case with Catholics. They're not supposed to read translations other than ones approved by the Roman Catholic Church. And the official translation for the U.S. is the New American Bible, which is an abortion, but in some respects improves on the previous work. So you're going to have to use an NAB if you can't get through to them with a King James. I have actually known people who say they're Catholic that use the King James. It's officially not sanctioned. You're not supposed to do that, but some of them do. It's a non-Catholic translation, especially a Protestant translation, is supposed to be poisonous to them. Not quite Xenu to a Scientologist poisonous, but they're not supposed to be reading it. It's officially verboten. Anyway, with other groups, it'll just probably make you come across as a bit old-fashioned if you force the King James. And I'd go ahead. I mean, honestly, we had centuries where this was all we had, and we found ways to understand it. For whatever weaknesses it has, and it does have weaknesses, I think it's safer to have everyone on the same page so we don't say, oh, my Bible says this. No, my Bible says this. If we're using the same translation, then that kind of confusion, you know what they say about the author of confusion, that kind of thing doesn't happen. And that's even if I would prefer to use another translation. I'm going to use the King James just to be safe. Because honestly, I think it's more important that we all have the same words, the same doctrine and same dogma and whatever, because we need to show the devil a unified front. And I come from a family that used various translations. My uncle started with a New American Standard Bible. We had a Revised Berkeley version. We had the Today's English version in some of the pews. We had a couple Revised Standards off in the back. We had people who used the New King James, people who used the New International. And my uncle occasionally uses oddball translation. I still have no idea what the heck version it was. Because it called, all I remember is it called Legion Brigade for some reason. I know he had a New English Bible. He had a New Revised Standard after the Methodist Church signed off on that. Honestly, they have their uses. I'm not going to condemn them outright. I mean, I probably wouldn't use most of these. But I'm not going to condemn them because I don't agree with the thing word for word, the King James. There's places I don't agree with the King James word for word. I use it so that there's a standard. I use it so that when I'm reading words from this and you're reading words out of your copy, we're reading the same words. That's my main point in using it. It's pragmatism, not dogmatism, because I'm not really that dogmatic a person. I'm not like a lot of those people get all bent out of shape over, there's a capital S in 1 John 5:8. This Bible is the devil. Yes, there's some people who actually believe that. Yeah, no, I'm not like that. But differences between editions of the King James are minor. It might be a word different here or there because of editing and because, everyone tries to correct the errors of the press from 400 years ago in different ways. Mostly the current editions is standardizing on the Cambridge Concord text. So happens that's what this is Pocket Concord. There's a couple other standards, but mostly you're seeing them all dissolve into the one. Oxford text blocks created from about the 60s onward, the Cambridge texts. Nelson's text is getting closer to Cambridge. Holman's text is getting closer to Cambridge. So it's kind of all evening out. And I think that's a good thing. You have less of this people seeing different words in their Bibles, even if it's ostensibly the same translation, and getting confused. And if everyone's on the same page, then it's easier to extrapolate and exegete because you don't have to worry about your exegesis won't work because the translation's different. Of course, you got to avoid eisegesis. That's another opposite issue. When you're reading your interpretation into what's written there. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, Jesus freak out.